Hello world and happy hacking. It's me, Mark, and welcome to webdevcourses.tv. It's time, my friends. It's time for MongoDB, and we need a project. We need something like it's time to stop bouncing around. We've learned a little bit about how Mongo works, and we've created some different schemas. And now it's time to stick with a single schema, because that way we're going to run into all the kinds of problems that you actually run into when something gets larger. So we're going to keep building on the database, and I'm actually going to make it so that I can just export these for you guys and put them in the repo, and then it'll be linked in the description when the video becomes, like the video on demand or whatever. Like after it's done, being live and they do all the processing that they do, I'll put the link on. So yeah, MongoDB, fun stuff. I just want to point out that after this at 8 p.m. we're going to be doing build an RPG game using JavaScript, which is going to be awesome. Think like Nintendo Homeworld, like Pokemon top-down JRPG style. Super fun stuff. Alrighty, I think I might even give him a cap and a baseball bat. Bing, you can just start bashing monsters. Okay, so what do we have here? This is Compass. Compass is hooked up to a local instance of MongoDB. Let's see, in the Discord, there should be a link in the description. In my Discord, I asked some people if they were interested in seeing, that's the wrong one, this one. Let's see, what do they think? I guess it's 3 people for online pie ordering. So it looks like we are now pie chefs. Well, we're going to be developing software for people who are really into pies. All right, so let's create ourselves a new database. And let's call this Mark's Pie in the Sky. You don't have to name your databases like this. I just don't like spaces, and I don't like underscores. And in situations like this, I prefer not having uppercase, lowercase. You have to start it off with a collection. Now, there's a lot of different things you could do. There's time series, capped, clustered, but we just need like a basic collection. People are going to be coming to a website, and we're going to show the greatest pies that I have baked. And it's a local thing because it's pies. They're not going to be good in the mail. Besides, they're so good that they'll be stolen by the delivery driver. So these pies are going to go locally, but you could set this up in any city and use the same website. Okay. I don't like calling people users. I grew up with drug addicts on the streets of Los Angeles, and user's not a nice name. It's not a good thing to call somebody. So how about we call them customers, because that's what they are. Now, you might wonder why I didn't create a pies or a products or a checkout or, something like that. Customer is the most important thing in your business. Let's take care of them first. I have a practice, and it might be because I've done a lot of freelance work, but my practice is to speak the same language as the business, and hopefully the business speaks the same language as the customer. If the techies and the ad people and the business people and the customer all speaks the same language, it's the best situation for everybody. Okay, so customers, what else do we need? Well, why don't we put a customer in here? So the first thing that you need to know about MongoDB is this is a document-based database. What exactly does a document-based database mean? Well, it's exactly what you think. It's just JSON documents. That's it. Just files of JSON. Okay. But it's super fast. It's super scalable. It can handle massive amounts of data, which is one of the reasons why normalization is not something that we strive for in MongoDB. Our data is supposed to look as close as it can to the way that it's utilized in the application that creates and modifies it. That way you don't have to write tons and tons of middleware about how to write, like, how do you save this to the database? With MongoDB, you've got like a form, right? And that form is in React or something, and it has like an object that's in state, and that object gets sent over to the API, and then, yeah, it just sticks the object in the database. That's it. There's no complicated SQL. There's no schemas. There's no nothing. It just goes in the database. All right, so it's perfect for people who like low code and for people who actually just want to get stuff done and not be academic about everything. So it's going to have an ID. That's what was generated there. That's an object ID. This is what? Customers. Okay, now I have to be careful with customer data because YouTube has blocked my videos before just for displaying some JSON data. So we're going to be a little bit creative here. We are going to, instead of calling them a name, we're going to call this their preferred moniker. And their preferred moniker in this case is going to be Absol ly not absolutely not. And then how about absolutely not a real person? We got AA, absolutely not a real person. And that's their preferred moniker. It's not their name. What else would we want to store about these customers, these things that are near and dear to our heart? Well, we're probably going to need their email, right? Because we're going to need to be able to contact them for their orders. So we're going to give another one. This is like AA cust at notarealemail.com. And instead of email, let's call this receipt destination. All right. We'll manage to get one of these JSON videos through without getting in trouble. Fortunately, these word games that we have to play because of the ridiculous amounts of censorship in platforms today, it should only be part of customers. Like once we get past that, it shouldn't matter as much. It's kind of fun. Although if you gave this database to somebody that was like purely academic in the way that they think, they would look at it and be like, fire this guy. Entirely too creative with his time. Okay, so the receipt destination is going to go there. We should probably, we're going to need their address, right? So let's call this the human planet location. The human planet location. Let me try to keep my thoughts straight. The human planet location is going to have a label. And that's going to be something like 420 Munchies Drive. Oh, coffee. Thank you so much, my beautiful wife. Boys, find yourself a great woman that will assist you and compliment you and not fight against you. And ladies, find yourself a partner that will protect and provide for you if you're not the protector and provider. And if you are the protector and provider, then find yourself a woman or a man who will compliment you and assist you and not try to like fight you all the time. Two people working together can get so much more done than two people working against each other. It should be common logic, but seems like not many people get it right. I certainly got it wrong for many, many, many years. It's no wonder why my first marriage ended up the way it did. You don't just come here for the MongoDB. You come here for the MongoDB and then you get bored with the stupid shit. All right, so a label is 420's Munchie Drive. unit int num. That's their like internal interior number, like the like apartment A or some shit like that. And we'll say that this is suite, and yes, I know that's not how it's spelled. Suite 69, because you know, Elon Musk. We would need to know, well, we don't need to know the state because it's only in-state shipping. We're not going to allow out-of-state shipping. In fact, we shouldn't allow out of area shipping, but we're still going to need to know what their city is. So let's call this their accidental residence name. This is going to be really hard to figure out when we're looking at the code, but you know. Okay, fine. I'm just going to do this. This is ridiculous. If fucking Google, if YouTube kills me for this, I need your guys' help to get my video back because they've already taken several away from me. It's not a label. It's a unit. Or how about additional? Address, additional. And then we're going to need the city. Where is this going to exist? It can't be a real place. It has to be some mystical, magical place. How about Narnia? What state would Narnia be? Also, let's not call it a state. Let's call it municipal. Actually, you know what? Let's just leave it to a city because we don't want to have a state. They are going to need their postal code. I guess we could just call it a zip. I think the U.S. Postal Service owns the copyright for the word zip or owns the trademark or something. I worked for a company one time that dealt a lot with sending stuff, and we had to rename all of our zip code stuff to something else. Okay, so in Narnia, I don't know, it'd be something weird like that. You know, because it's the beginning. All right, so we got our location. We got their name. We got an email. You know what's good for an address? What if they have more than one address? What if I have the address where my girlfriend lives and I send her pies? And sometimes I eat pie while I'm over at my girlfriend's. And then, of course, I've also got my wife's house, which is my residence, my main residence. And I'd want to get some pie there. And then occasionally you want to eat some pie when you're, you know, when you're at the office. So let's give this a label. Let's say that this thing, this one right here, this is my office. I eat pie there sometimes. This one is my home. And of course, I eat some pie there. You got to keep people happy, right? So, sorry, this is backward. This is supposed to be the label and home. And then another one. What did I copy there? Something went really wonky. Another one. I'll just put not that this is a real person or anything. Just somebody that is imaginary. Ginny, no love. All right, and they can't all be at the same place, right? So this one's going to be 6969 Elon Way. Because, you know, apparently I'm just such I have so much love for Elon. I just like free speech. I think Elon is just a dude who's probably fairly Asperger's. I can relate. And seems to be a pretty good guy. I'm not saying he thinks everything through. Seems like a good guy. Let's say this is like internal 9. And the address is 2759. Actually, let's do like 37. 100. Wouldn't that be a prime number? Anything with that? And we're just going to call this Cosmos Street. They're all in Narnia. They all, let's say they have different zip codes though. And they got some weird system, right, where like there's leading and trailing zeros to make sure it's always the same number. I would keep that as a string. I wouldn't turn that into a number or an integer, because if you do, you're going to lose that padding or that precision. All right, so we got our locations. It's going to be a plural now, right? Because it's that. And you'll notice you're looking at this and you're like, well, that just looks like the state of my React app or my Svelte app or whatever. And I would say, well, then you're probably doing state right. Let's just insert it, see what we get. All right, so we have a record. We get absolutely not a real person, their email. They've got some locations. It's an array. It's got some objects. Do you need an object ID for these? I would say no, because they have a label, and the label has to be unique. Well, we'll just make code so it has to be unique. So you could just get the locations by the label. Honestly, if I was saving orders, let's do this. Let's create the next most important thing. We need orders, right? If you don't have orders, you don't have a freaking business. You just got a play toy that costs you a lot of money, a lot of legal responsibility. So let's create some orders. We're going to create a data through a document. The first thing that we're going to need here is we need to know which customer it is. If I can type. A new keyboard again. I keep trying to get a keyboard I like, and I don't like keyboards. I like my old Mac Pro from like 2015, before they did the touch bar thing, 2014 maybe. And ever since I had that one, I longed for that feel, and with PC, I just haven't found it. So here's something that's different in SQL. In SQL, this would be called like customer ID. We don't do that here. Don't do that in Mongoland. I'm going to keep the customers open there, and I'm going to open my orders here. So I need this customer ID. This is how we do it in Mongo. So the ID, what? That is not what I copied. I copied that. Come on. There we go. So I'm going to do this. I'll change it from a string to an object ID. Always use your object IDs. Don't use strings. Okay, so now we have a customer. We have to have a delivery location, right? So location. And the location that I'm going to be adding here is going to be... Now here's the problem. See, like if we did the label and we did a lookup, which is traditionally how it is, what happens if they change it later? What happens if my girlfriend moves, or I get a different girlfriend, different house, different address? What happens if my office moves? What happens if me and my wife move into a different place? Lots of things could happen. I don't want this order showing that it went to a place that it didn't because like the record updated, right? Like if I delivered a pie, if I delivered a hot, juicy pie to your house 6 months ago, and your address was a specific thing, that is the address that should forever be on this order ticket. It should never be something else. It should always be this one. Okay. How do you do that? Well, in Mongo, we would actually take a copy of it. We would say, this is the object. This here is the object that it was sent to. It was sent to the office. So I would just come over here, change this to an object, switch it to this view. It's like I only can copy these because it's forcing that in there. Oh, because it's what? It's not in edit mode. So this is how we would do it in Mongo. It's a copy. It's a snapshot. It's a snapshot of the data at the time that it was. Now the customer thing, this is different. This is like this is a live link, right? So if they were to change their name later, we have the same problem. So we probably want to link it back to the customer, but I would say we probably also want to say like the name that it was delivered to, the name that we would end up having payment information here, right? So you could have like another table that has like all the payment information, but why? So here's your payment info. It's just another object. Surprise, surprise, right? Inside of that object, we need to have, you know, the name on card. That's going to be a snapshot. And that was nobody called today. So that's the name on the card. And the last four of the card that they used was 4765 or whatever that is. And we would have like a Stripe ID. And the Stripe ID would be, you know, whatever Stripe gives us, it's going to be something. And there'll be some other stuff that Stripe or whatever our payment provider would give us that we would have in here. But that's pretty much it. And the order and the payment happen at the same day. They don't happen at the exact same time, though. So we might want to say, the payment was created at, the payment was resolved at, the payment was confirmed at. Confirmed at, it tells us a story. If this said confirmed on, we would know that it was a date. But because it says confirmed at, we know that it's a timestamp. So 2022 / you know, whatever, 0707 key. And then the time would be something like 12/22/45.123 Z, so that we have our timestamp information. And you might ask, like, where's the created at here? There is no created at, because the created at can be pulled at any time from this timestamp. All right, so now we have a customer, and that customer ordered a pie, but we don't see their actual pie order here, right? Like, I don't see it. So let's add that next. Let's switch this to SQL view. I just find it simpler. Or not SQL view. How come I can't? Oh, it's not editable. JSON view. Okay, so then we would have their order items. Okay. Their order items should be an array because it's an order items. It's plural. Again, you're using the language to tell a story. What does an order item look like? Well, it's an object. I guess it already, let's just do purchases. Purchases. So what does this look like? Well, we're going to have a link to a product. I guess that's why I didn't do it yet, because we don't have a product. Okay, so we're going to need a single source of truth for our products. Now we could create a pies folder or pies collection, but then we're limited to selling pies. So what I would do is I would create a products section or products collection, and I would create a new product. Now normally the data is created by your JavaScript app. It's not just entered in like this. I've written enough JavaScript apps so that like I can just design the Mongo database based on how I know I would do the state. Okay. products. A product has to have a name. Mark's delicious. I don't know if that's right for spelling. Delicious cherry pie. How about Mark's girlfriends? Mark's nephews, sisters, uncles, brothers, cousins. Mark's girlfriends. Delicious apple. Delicious cherry pie. My wife is more of a mango, I would say. I'll have to make her a pie too. All right, so we've got a name. We have to have a price, right? And this would be like the base price. You could add modifiers. Like, what if you wanted extra whipped cream, or you wanted like somebody's name written on the top? Like, those are options, and they can change the price. So let's give it a base price. Now, how do you do prices? In programming and in databases, you do not use floating point numbers ever for money. Just don't do it. You, even in crypto, where like you've got 18 decimals of possible like pennies, basically, instead of just 2, you use an integer, and the integer gives you the entire precision, because it's not $10, it's 1,000 pennies. That's what's actually stored. So let's say this pie, this delicious cherry pie, it costs $5. Actually, no, let's say it costs $12. So that'd be $1,200, because it's 12.00. I just take out the dot. Now you got an integer, and the precision is built into that. Okay, so you got a base price. You probably have an image. Let's call it a photo, because like it's food. You want a photo. So the photo is going to be at HTTPS. Let's find a cherry pie. I don't think I have browser open. Cherry pie. Not videos, images. Ah, I saw some warrant there. Now that looks delicious. Absolutely delicious. That's what my pie is going to look like tomorrow. I'm going to make this pie, actually. I already have the cherries. No, I wanted the photo. I don't want your website. Copy image link. There's my cherry pie. Delicious and tasty, sweet but tangy. It's got to have a little bit of tang. It's got to have a good aftertaste. Making me hungry. Okay, so we got photo, we got base price, we got name. There's going to be a bunch of other stuff. For now, let's cap it off here. So, of course, we're going to need to get the object ID. And we have our orders. And in our orders, we're going to have these purchases. And now we'll be able to add an object ID. And that object ID is the product. Now, prices can change. But we know how much they paid. Wait, why don't we know how much they paid? Amount. How could I miss amount? Amount. The amount is, well, it was 12 for the pie. So after taxes and everything else, it's probably like $14.78. I'm really glad I don't live there. Wow, there's pretty high taxes here too, but you can get around them by just buying specific things, buying Whole Foods, for instance. Paying with cash. Okay, so we got our purchases, we got the thing, we know how much we paid in total, but we don't know how much we paid for this thing. So I think this actually has to be edited again. This is going to have to become an object. The object is going to have a key called product, And that's going to be this thing. And that will be an object ID. It's sort of like a joined table where you have a table here, a table here. You got a table in the middle that points to the two things, but it also has other information. That's pretty much what we're doing here. We got the product. We're going to add another field after product, and it's going to be the price. What did we pay? Let's call it the amount. The amount was, let's call it the price, so we can save the taxes later. We'll have to save the taxes too. So this was $12. Integer, where are you? There you are. I'll worry about the other thing later, but we know what we paid for it. We have to know the quantity. Let's just call it count. They bought 1 pie. All right, so we got a order object, an order document. It points to a customer. We have the payment information, the name of the card, the name on the card, the confirmed at, the last 4 of the card, the Stripe ID that comes back, the amount that they paid, the location where it went to. We have a copy of it so that, like, if that stuff changes later on, it doesn't get changed here. We've got a link back to the product, but we've also got the price and the count. In case the price changes at some point, we know it's here. And we might have to add discounts and all kinds of other stuff, coupons. There's other stuff that'll be added here. But now that we've got a product and we've got a customer and we've got an order in between them, we've essentially, you know, mocked out what our structure is going to look like. Let's see, what is this? This is customers. This one should be orders. Open a new one and do the products. Time is it? 32. Cool beans. Making good progress. Sydney. What's up? I don't know you. I finally know a little bit about you. Well, unless you're faking me out, brother. You're feeding me false information. So yeah, we have a basic structure now. Like, how would you query this? No, mate? Well, you keep saying mate. So my guess is you're either Australian, you're Aussie, not Aussie, but like OZ, like New Zealand, or you're from England. My Irish friends never call me mate. My Scottish friends call me mate sometimes. Mostly Irish, or mostly English. So you're one of those. Or you're just a weirdo and you're like, you're honeypotting me to think that you're from there. Because that's easily done. Ah, South Africa, you're right. I totally missed that one. So you're like a mini Elon. Why'd you pick Australia, mate? Australia? I guess you're used to what, that latitude? Australia. It's a great place to be if you want all your rights taken and you want to get beaten up by the police, almost as good as the United States. And both of those are almost as good as Mexico. Work brings you there. I get that. I lived in Holland for work, and I have to say it was a wonderful time, although there was some downsides. I lived there for 4 years. I lived in Liverpool for a very brief time. Like, they hired me, I got an apartment, and like they fired half the company like a week later. I just went back to Holland. Amsterdam is a hell of a place to live. I lived in Germany for a while. I hated it in Germany, but the job was good. The money was good. I just jumped on the fucking the train to get there. And I just stayed living in Holland. Australia, though. Oh, the animals in Australia all want to kill you. The ozone wants to kill you. The sun wants to kill you. You got to be hardcore to be an Australian. Or to even live there and pretend to be an Australian. Okay, so queries. What if we needed to get all of one customer's orders? So here's our customer. How do we do that? Well, it's called an aggregation. We're going to create a new pipeline. I guess there's already one here. This is how pipelines work. Think of like if you've ever used gulp or something like that where it operates in streams. If you've used promises instead of async await where you got a dot then, a dot then, a dot then, and then like a dot catch. That's a stream operation. That's a pipeline, which is exactly what we have here. So first we're going to match the customer that we want. So the underscore ID is going to be an object ID, and it's going to be that object ID. Now you'll see that customer show up. Great. Move on to the next stage. We want to join the orders, so we're going to do a lookup. Do a lookup. We're going to join from orders. The local field is underscore ID, and the remote field is customer. And we're going to call this as orders. And there's our orders. Well, there's our locations. Hold on. Go away. Go away. There's our orders. We got one order. Okay. So what's the next stage? Well, wouldn't we want to like replace the customer with the actual customer information? That seems like a logical thing. Otherwise, you got to do a second query, right? Okay, so how would we do that? Now this gets tricky because we're talking about something that's like inside of an array. We need to go over the order. We could do it with a map. Maps are not fun in Mongo. It's not like it is in JavaScript or Ruby or Python where it's super easy. It's a pain in the butt. I try not to use unwind if I don't have to, and I try not to use map if I don't have to. Now, there's times where like you'll have to do a performance upgrade or performance improvement to some query, and you might have to use a map, but I generally stay away from it as much as I can. So what do we want to do here? Well, it's another lookup. It's the same thing as before. It's just now we're inside of like an array. So what's the collection? The collection is, well, we're already here. I don't have to look anything up. We're already on this customer. In fact, you know what? We don't need to do that at all. Payment. We should probably have, well, no, I mean, that's the data. That's the data we want to end up with. We got our locations. We don't really need, let's say that we were getting very specific data for a very specific API call. We don't want all this stuff. We just want specific stuff. We would use project, and project works like this. We would say, do I want their ID? I do. So we give it a 1. Do I want their name? Yes, I do. So we give it a 1. Do I want their email? Yes, I do. Give it a 1. Do I want their locations? I don't actually care because I only care about the location of the order. Okay, so orders. I want orders. We are going to project the orders. Do I want everything in orders? I mean, technically, I don't need the customer. But again, at that point, like I'd have to do a map. I could do it, but kind of a pain in the butt. I don't think we have some time to do that. I think we're in a good place to stop here. We have returned all of our stuff. Let's save this. Save as customer orders. And then we can look that back up later. So what do you guys think? MongoDB. It's pretty incredible, honestly. Just dealing with JSON, just dealing with a language that just feels like JavaScript in the way that it puts things together. I like it. I don't like doing SQL projects. I do SQL projects when somebody pays me enough money. I don't like it. I don't prefer it. I don't want object mappers and schemas and all that. Lived in Malaysia, Middle East, and now also I lived in Dubai for a little while. Dubai is a great place. I lived in United Arab Emirates for a very short amount of time. It's not a place for me. I could get in too much trouble. In Dubai, if you have the right friends, like you can drink, you can smoke weed, you can smoke, out of hookahs, you can live your life. In United Arab Emirates, is a little bit different. If you're just like outside of Dubai, it's not the same place. It gets crazy. But nowhere else in the Middle East. I lived in India. India was cool. India was really cool and really crazy at the same time. Malaysia. I want to go to Malaysia someday. Qatar. Qatar's another of those places. Like, it's beautiful in the cities. Like, you won't get robbed. That's like Dubai. Like, you could, people roll around with just stupid amounts of money and nobody robs them. And in Los Angeles, if you wear even, a cheap watch, somebody will kill you for it. By the way, thanks, Chris, for destroying those XXX YouTube comments. So, any thoughts? If you're watching this later as a video, it's not live, it's cool. Just put your questions in. Put them in the comments. Ask the comments. It helps me make the next live and the next video. It makes it better, right? So we're going to be building this thing out pretty much completely. And then what I'm going to do is the introduction to modern web development that happens during the daytime. That's what we're going to use. ReactJS, Tailwind, JavaScript, like the whole stuff. We already have our database. So the two classes are going to feed together. In fact, tomorrow, on Monday, 9 a.m. Actually, this is going to change. I have to make a decision. I have to cull something. You're going to have to check back on Monday to see what time Introduction to Modern Web Development. I think Introduction to Modern Web Development is going to move to 10 a.m. because 9 a.m. is just too early for me. These are all Central U.S. time, Mexico City time. One of these has to go. If one of these has to go, leave your comments. Put it in the chat right now. Put it in the comments if you're watching a video. Over the weekend, if you're watching this video, one of these has to go. Introduction to Modern Web Development can't go. Build an RPG game using JavaScript can't go. Databases, MongoDB can't go. JavaScript interview questions was asked by a lot of people. Vanilla JavaScript for beginners. It's a pretty good class. Everybody needs that. I think designing UX with TailwindCSS might go away for a couple of weeks and then come back when we have time to be serious about it. So you'll have to check back Monday to see the schedule. I'm probably starting at 10 a.m. That's my guess. Starting at 10 a.m. This has been MongoDB. I've been Mark, and this has been WebDevCourses.tv.